Hi, I'm Bob Hursthouse. This is Jeff True, and we are really excited to be at Jay and Jill's house today. We're going to have an opportunity to take a look at a very tight, tailored, ordered, structured landscape that fits perfectly with our clients' lifestyle and their architectural tastes. Well, we got the call about 4 years ago, right?
We did.
To come and take a look at the landscape. The house is relatively new, it's 7 or 8 years old, and they wanted us to come in and kind of look at what wasn't right on the house, and especially from the landscape perspective, as I recall.
Yeah, one of the first things I noticed is that, wow, look at this house. This is going to be a lot of fun. This is going to be amazing. I remember this being really nice because they had some things that they really wanted, and they knew, I think, some things that they didn't like. But there was a lot of unanswered questions too. So that's when we could come in and go, okay, we've got a starting point with what they're giving us. Now we can help them bring all this together. So I think it was a great way to start the project.
So this is a project that could easily overwhelm somebody that sees it, but I think we break it down into the individual design elements that make up this project. Then it becomes universal and can be applied to any site.
Yes. True here and true on every site. We intimidate some people with some of the projects, and when you explain that it can be broken down into manageable pieces, then they can kind of see it a little more clearly. So very similar to a smaller space or a simpler design, just magnified.
Sure. Well, I think it's time that we should stroll the property and take a look at the details that we have here.
Sounds good, let's do it.
One of our most important things is curb appeal, right? So why don't we start with the view from the street?
Sounds good.
One of the things that we always look at on projects is curb appeal, right?
Yeah.
So there was some critical things that weren't right with this initial curb appeal, and then we added a bunch of details to the front.
Yeah, well, one immediate thing was there was no foreground here. You know, we came off of the street, right to the public walk, and then your eye just kind of went right to the house, and it never had a place to rest or never had a foreground to the architecture, which is quite impressive.
Yeah, which really made the house feel like it was kind of looming over the street.
Yes.
And that front yard just foreshortened. Yeah. So it became a very narrow approach.
Yeah, and from what I recall, even the scale of the existing plantings were a little on the small side for the scale of the home. So we knew that we need to not only provide a foreground, but reorient some of the existing plants, add new plants that were better suited from a scale standpoint.
Yeah, always. So, you know, a couple of great details, you know, we started with a carriage walk, and this works out really well for guest parking.
Yeah, I think it's very welcoming. It really expands this and captures somebody and then kind of starts to funnel them towards the front door, towards the front entry.
It does draw you right in, doesn't it? Yeah. So this feels really great to be able to actually, you know, circulate through the house, and it feels like, you know, there's kind of a sense of welcoming as I just stand on the bluestone, right off the curb and right off the street. But as I step between these two columns and the brick, it just feels like I've come home. It's like this is the front door of the house right here. Yeah. And now I'm entering the property, and now no longer am I out on the street, but I'm at Jay and Jill's house.
Guests can walk side by side. We're standing here. Instead of looking down to make sure we're on the little tightrope of a sidewalk, we're comfortably standing here as we approach the front. So people can enjoy this amazing landscape.
Obviously the fountain is a dominant element in this landscape. So tell us about the details of how that came together.
But the sound, I mean, the first thing down the street is you kind of get a little hint of it over the top of the boxwood hedge here. But as you get here, you start to hear that sound.
Yeah.
I think that's just calming anyways and welcoming. So that's a terrific starting point. But we play off center lines. You know, we talked about this main front entry being centered on the front doors, and then the fountain is centered on the main key window here in the center of the home. So.
Yeah. And that plays right off their dining room, so that's great for when they're entertaining, when they're having, you know, holiday gatherings here. Crack a window, you can hear the fountain run, just seeing the movement of the water. And when the lights come on at night, that's even that much more magical.